Hey everyone, Joe here. Today I want to show you how to set up OBS Studio and record your desktop, which also includes all the audio settings like you're hearing now, so you get the best audio quality. Now this is the actual setup that I'm using currently, and so if you're wondering what I do to get such amazing videos, well, this is the audio setup and the settings I use in OBS. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, but before we get started, I really want to hit 50,000 subscribers by the end of 2026. So being that this video is for 2026 and we're currently on OBS 32, don't mind hitting that subscribe button, sharing and liking. It really mean a lot to me. So anyway, that said, let's hop over here and I'll show you how I have OBS Studio set up. Okay, everybody. Well, we have OBS Studio opened up here on the desktop. Now, first thing we need to do is actually go in and set the settings and everything up. So first thing we need to do is go on File and go down to Settings. But if you don't want to go down that way, there's also the settings over here under your Start Streaming, Start Recording buttons too. As you see, I have, well, that way, depending on which way I got my camera flipped. That way. So let's go ahead and click on the Settings button and it'll pull up your screen here. Now let me zoom in a little bit so everybody can see this better. Okay, now we have the settings and stuff opened up here. There's quite a few settings that by default are already, perfectly good to go. So no sense of going through every single one of them. We're just going to show you the ones that I prefer or need to be adjusted to get the best out of it. So first, let's go down to actually audio. Now you notice when we are skipping output, we'll come back to that here in a little bit. Now let's go down to audio here. Now, by default, the sample rate is normally around 48 for most desktop setup. I currently have mine set up for 44.1. It's just what I'm running on both everything from DaVinci Resolve, my audio, all my DAWs and everything. So I'm set up to run 44.1 kilohertz, but the default 48 kilohertz, which most computers are set up to run, is perfectly fine. That is actual studio quality, and 48 kilohertz is actually better than 44.1. All right. Channels, we do want to leave that on stereo. Now, right here, we're going to have desktop audio 2, your mic auxiliary audio input, which by default, mine's got the N1 and 2 channel in M audio, M series, which is what I'm using. That's my audio interface. But you'll notice I have my desktop audio 1 and 2 here disabled. You can use these if you want to. It'll just have the out signal from whatever your audio interface. Yours may be Realtek or whatever your output is. You can choose to use this one if you want to. The reason I'm using down here this mic auxiliary audio 2 is for my loop back. That way I hear everything through my headphones is automatically looped back into the interface. It's just how I have everything set up. But if you don't want your options, on your audio interface, don't have that, you just set it to out, for M audio, like I said, out 1, 2, whatever yours is, be a Scarlett, M audio, Realtek, or whatever. Just your basic desktop output. Alrighty. There isn't really anything else through here to worry about. Just make sure, disable Windows audio ducking is turned on, because you do want to make sure that is. By default, it's going to be turned on anyway. So just go ahead and turn that on, just to make sure Windows doesn't give you any headaches down the road. Video here. Now, I am running actually a 2560 by 1440p display. However, I have my base canvas resolution here set up to 4K, which is 3840 by 2160, as well as my output scale resolution being the same. Now, the reason I am actually doing this is because I like to actually blow my desktop up a little bit bigger, sharpen it, then shrink it back down when I go to output in DaVinci Resolve in HD. That's kind of a little of a trick photographers and videographers use. Even if they're only recording saying HD, they might record the video out larger, sharpen it, then squeeze it back to the normal resolution size. It gives a better image quality look, at least my personal opinion. Now, the common frame per second value, or this is your frame per second. I'm running 60p for my desktop for this recording. You want to make sure this is whatever the screen frame frame rate is that you're using. Since I'm running 60 hertz on my main display, 60 hertz is what I have listed here. All right. And that's what you want to set up. If not, you'll get some jitters and stuff and stuttering, and you'll be wondering why your video's not smooth. All right. Now let's hop on down here to advanced, and let's go to our video settings here. The renderer, you do want to leave it Direct 3D 11. I think that may be by default, 100% sure. Color of format should be defaulted also to NV12. You want to leave it that. Color space, you do want to leave it on Rec 709. Now you may be wondering, hey Joe, it's got sRGB now. Why don't we use that? The reason we want to leave it on Rec 709 is simply because other applications like DaVinci Resolve already are by default using Rec 709 as a color space. So we want to keep all the color spaces matching from different software to the next. Rec 709 is the standard. Let's leave it on that. All right, color range. Maybe tempted to put this on full. Leave it on limited. Reason being, if you put it on full, the colors will not match up. You'll be wondering why everything's extremely hazy when you bring it over into DaVinci Resolve or Premiere Pro, whatever you're going to be using to finally edit this, if you do use any editing at the end. If not, you'll have, unless you have a special reason to change it to anything else, leave it on limited, especially if you're using standard definition displays, which the OBS Studio now does actually support. For example, you have standard now, and also you have HDR, which, I mean, OBS now supports HDR, which it did a few years ago. All right. So anyway, those are the only ones you want to make sure that are set. Like I said, these should be by default anyway. We're just kind of covering that in case it isn't. All right. Now let's go up here to output. We're not doing streaming. We're doing recording desktop. That would be a whole nother video in itself. So anyway, let's click on recording here. All right. Recording path here. Now, I have mine set to one of my NVMe drives, which says video recording, so everything goes directly to it. It's not going to my main system drive, but you put this wherever you need it to go for your particular system. All right. Now, recording formats. Here's where a few things have changed since my last video I made 4 or 5 years ago. We can actually have FM MPEG wave audio without having to go through a lot of different parameters and settings and stuff. So this has made things so much easier to set up by default and a lot easier to explain. Right. Recording format. I am using hybrid MP4, and that's the one I recommend. Now, you probably wonder what's the difference between hybrid MP4 and regular MPEG-4. Well, basically, MPEG-4 will give you the most compatibility through most everything you use, between that and QuickTime MOV, but MPEG-4 especially. However, there's some issues. Let me click on it here. You'll see, warning, recording saved in MP4 MOV will be unrecoverable if there's a crash, blah, 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 blah. You'll be thinking, oh, so we want to use MKV. Well, that's nice and all, but you may have some recording issues, and it's not as compatible as MPEG-4. So, the happy solution is hybrid MP4, which has the benefits of both. So, really happy to see that, really that it's there now. So, anyway, that's what I'm using now, and that's the one I recommend. Video encoder. Now, right here we have, I have AMD hardware H265 high efficiency video codec encoding. All right, big mouthful of words. H.265 we'll call it from that now on. Alrighty. So, this is the one I recommend for both performance and compatibility. Now, this is the one I actually using and I recommend. But I gotta tell you, AV1, if you can use it, go with AV1. If you get hardware AV1 encoding, use it. And you're probably wondering, well, Joe, yours is listed as hardware AV1. Why ain't you using that? And that's because I'm running a Radeon 7900 XT. And clearly the driver's not optimized too well because I've tried to run it and it's just a stuttery mess. So between AMD or something's going on, AV1 is just not working for me at the moment. Yeah, but like I said, I would highly recommend it if you can go that route. Alrighty. If you can't run H.265, there's always H.264, which is the older one, but H.265 is actually the better one to go with, in my honest opinion. And if you're running NVIDIA, well, find whichever one is H.265 or high efficient video codec that you're running, and make sure it's hardware, so your video graphics card, can take up the load and do all the encoding. So, video encoder. This is one thing I'm happy to see now, is you can easily get FM, MPEG, wave audio, and I recommend going with 24-bit. You don't need 32-bit. Nobody with a standard audio interface is going to use all of 32-bit. 24-bit is studio quality. Heck, 16-bit is CD quality, not CDO. So FM MPEG 24-bit is like 140 something dB decibel range of gain. That's about as much as most audio interfaces can handle anyway. Any more than that, you're just gonna run into noise. So 32-bit file size is really not needed. 16-bit, you've only got like 90 dB of gain range. And so 16-bit will work if you want to go with it. I just highly recommend just going with 24-bit because, like I mentioned, we're running 44.1 and 44.1 24-bit and 48 kilohertz 24-bit are both studio quality sample sizes. So audio tracks 1 and 2, remember that. I am using those because audio track 1 is my microphone and 2 is my loopback. And I'll show you that in just a moment. Now, if I click on audio up here, he says bitrate 160. Ignore all these. At least ignore all these if you're using FM MPEG, PCM audio, which is wave audio. Because when you do, all these are ignored. Only time those are used are if you go over here and go down to like AAC and use those. Like streaming, we'll use AAC. So you would want to use those for streaming. Alrighty. But rescale output, leave that disabled. The rate control here, constant bit rate, is what CBR stands for. Bit rate I am using with H.265 is 25,000. And you're probably thinking, 25,000, isn't that kind of low for 4K? It is. But considering that we're actually just doing a desktop here and not, video graphics of recording a video game, 25,000 is perfectly fine. However, if you are recording video games, especially first-person shooters, other MMOs and stuff, you'll want to double that up to 50,000. I can get away with 25,000 because I'm recording a desktop here, and other than my mouse cursor and a lot of things moving on the screen. So that's why I can get away with it. And when I'm recording video, that's also what I use, and it doesn't seem to have a problem. So happy that is the way it is, because it used to require a lot more. But I guess they're finally getting the graphics drivers and stuff, going pretty good here. Alrighty. So we got all those done. Remember audio track 1 and 2 was just talking about? Yeah, we can get to that now. If I go over here at the bottom and I right click and go advanced audio properties, it'll pull up my audio properties here. You'll see one of them I have named loop. And for your audio coming off your desktop or your loop back, what I'm using, I recommend setting the decibel to -6 on it, just to keep from ever clipping, and also lets you adjust it later on. Now, I have desktop, for my loop and stuff, going to track 2. Like I mentioned earlier, my microphone is going to track 1. And this is really helpful when I go into DaVinci Resolve and start editing my video and stuff. Now, for the mic gain and stuff in here, I just got set to regular 0 dB. That's because I have a limiter and everything set on the track, and I'll show you those filters here in just a second. You do want to make sure it is set to mono, though, and it panned all the way over to the channel you're using. Since I am using channel 1, which is left on my Moto M2 audio interface, that's the one I am using. Okay, so that's set up. Let's talk about some filters here. Hey, here I am again on the screen. So we go down here to the bottom and I right click and let's go to filters here. Don't have a lot of filters set up on this one. You've probably seen my other ones I've used before where I've got a lot more effects and stuff going into everything. For the desktop recording, for tutorials and stuff, we want to keep things a little more professional. so I don't have a lot of little extra, effects and stuff going in. We do want to use noise suppression right at the start. RNN noise is good quality, more CPU usage, but honestly, it's not that much CPU usage. Use it, it's the best. The other one is horrible. The second plugin we're going to run here is an expander. This one is actually built into OBS as well. By default, the negative dB on here is actually around 30 or 40. I recommend pulling it up to like negative 25 dB. Probably no higher than negative 18 at the most. And the reason I even got it set this high, honestly, is to really help with any kind of like mouth noise when speaking. Because we really don't need the expander to remove any background noise. The noise suppression is going to do that for us. The expander is there to keep reducing any mouth noise that I'm creating. Like if you're smacking gums, mouth getting dry while you're speaking, bringing this up just a little bit can really help. Now, the rest of the settings here should be pretty close to default. The ratio to 2-to-1, which is good. The attack and release, 10 milliseconds, on the attack, 50 milliseconds on the release. The release could be a little longer if you want it to, up to 100 milliseconds. So it's really up to you. But default is 10 and 50 if I'm not mistaken. And that's what I like to go with. Now the detection on this one is RMS, which I'll recommend leaving that by default. And that's really it for the expander. Now DS here, I do have TDR Nova. Let me open this up. All right. Now this is my one I have set up here for removing the kind of like background boom noise, like plosives and stuff. Let's say plosives, boom, boom, boom. You can see it does kind of reduce that. Now, I am in general pretty sibilant heavy, so on this one I have my sibilants really notched out pretty good here. And this is the settings that I use personally, but everybody's gonna have to adjust this yourself, especially on the actual frequency here with the frequency knob. Depending if you're male, female, this can easily move 2,000 hertz up or down. Okay. Now mine's pretty wide here because I have like 2 or 3 frequencies. If I see like that whole area of mountain that comes up on the EQ here, yeah, that is all the sibilants and stuff. So I got mine pretty heavy here to kind of knock that out so it doesn't sound as bad. Now let me just go over here and start off with band 1 here and go through all the settings that I have set up. I click on band 1 here. First discover I gotta do have an 80 hertz high pass filter going over here. And this is, if nobody notices, TDR Nova, the free version. I have it linked down in the description below. Slope, just a gentle 12 dB. That's all you need. Filter 1 here, the first channel. I do have it on a shelf. Okay, the Q here I'm actually running is 0.5. Real easy one. The frequency is around 450 hertz. It says 454. Close enough. Nobody's going to notice. Threshold, I recommend a negative 25 dB on that. And for the ratio, and you may have to click on threshold there to turn it on. The ratio is, however, just 1.5 to 1. It's very gentle. It's not going to cause a lot. We do want it pretty quick, though. So the attack is 0.2 milliseconds. And 20 milliseconds release. And that'll really help for any kind of like catching any plosives and stuff coming out. Alrighty. Now let's click on the 4th band here and we'll talk about this one. This is when the de-essing is going on. Q is pretty wide here, 1.5, basically the Q. Frequency for me, like I said, you have to listen to this. They got a band solo button here. You can click on band solo with a set of headphones. You can find the frequency that you need to adjust out for your sibilants and stuff. So like I said, mine happened to be 6.9 kilohertz, and then we are running a bell filter on it. All right. Now I do have an additional negative 1.5 dB added just to kind of help the sibilants a little bit more. You may or may not need this. For me, you do. Somebody who doesn't have any sibilants issues can go a whole lot lighter on this. Now I'm gonna have to reduce the default. The threshold I have set up here is negative 32 dB, and the ratio is 3-to-1. It's pretty heavy, but sibilants. Sally sells seashells on the seashore. So anyway, that's what I got set up over here. But before we go down any further, I want to go up here to the top. We want to make sure we're on eco mode. And this will really help with any kind of latency in OBS, as well as the CPU resources and stuff. And since we're in mono, leave it on mono. Actually, by default, it's going to be on stereo. And by default, eco here is going to be on precise. Put those on eco and put it on mono, because we are working with a mono signal. There's no sense of doubling the CPU load. And since eco is pretty good, and there's no live version on the free version, just go with eco. And if you got any questions about it, there's a nice little question mark here. You can click on it, highlight stuff, and it'll show you. One last thing before we go to the next plugin, I do have the outgain here, boost by 6 dB, kind of help gain stage my audio a little bit to get a little bit more even, smoother. And so I do have, like I said, boosted here by 6 dB, and that's for me going into the next plugin, which is a compressor. Now the compressor we're using here is TDR Molotov. And the reason I had the 6 dB boost on the previous plugin is because there's no input gain on this one, on the free version. All right. Like I said, this is Molotov, not Mollet, this is the free version. And here's my compression and stuff that I use for OBS. First, let's start going over here with this sidechain HP, which is just, or SCHP, which is just sidechain high pass. This basically turns around and says anything below 120 hertz, it's going to kind of ignore. Basically, just going to ignore it and not be sent to the compressor here to reduce it. So it's just kind of ignore the signal, and it's going to focus more on everything above it. Alrighty. So I hope that explains that one. And like the other one, before we get any further, mono, and this one does have the option for live, so you want to use live to give you the zero latency, everything. And it'll just really help with your videos. Like I said, getting the latency out. That way it's easier to sync up your audio and video in post. Threshold here. Now for this one, I am using negative 18 dB. That's because we don't want to start too low. It's going to start compressing things too soon. We're basically, at this point, we're trying to level out the audio and kind of catch anything high. So negative 18 dB. I do have a knee of 0.25, which I like. My attack, I have 5 milliseconds, and with a release of 150 milliseconds. And I do have the knob here. You says alpha, beta, then sigma. All the way on alpha. That just means tells the compressor to automatically react as fast as possible. If you have any questions about that, want to learn more, like I mentioned before, there's a little question mark here. Click on the question mark, hover it, and it explains everything to you. All right. Ratio 3:1. Makeup gain, another 6 dB added on top of that. All right. That's for a makeup gain. Now, I don't have any outgain. There's a little bit difference between makeup and outgain, but I'm just running 6 dB of makeup gain here to kind of make up the difference. Dry mix is 0%, but that's basically it for the compressor. Pretty simple. Close that one out. Final setting on the audio here is our limiter. And like I said, I have the limiter set to negative 6 dB, so it'll never go above negative 6 dB with a release of 50 milliseconds. Okay. So that's our audio and everything set up. Now, for those who don't know how to add a display or something to your desktop, okay, get it zoomed back out here. I'll go down here at the bottom where it says scenes and sources. This is one of the new things. Go to your sources. You can actually click the little plus sign, and it'll have different options here. Display capture is what I'm using because I like to capture my entire display. You do have the option to application. Let me get that out correctly. Remember I mentioned to you about your mouth getting dry during the videos? And yeah, that's why the expander really helps there. So anyway, I like display capture. There is the option for like game capture, which is your application capture. That way if you want to capture just the game, and that way if you're running a little more like you got software, for example, on your desktop you don't want somebody to be able to see, then you want to use game capture to capture what you're actually capturing. But if you're just running a blank display for doing tutorials and stuff like I do, and it's more convenient, you can click on display capture. When you click on it, let you name it. You can click OK, whatever you want to name it. You see, I've already got one named. Click OK. Then you get to choose capture method, automatic. Just leave it on automatic. Then choose the display you want to capture. Like mine, my primary display is at 2564-240. My ViewSonic display. My other one is there. So then you can actually click on which one you want, and you can stretch it out to the screen. I'm gonna click cancel because I don't want to add another one. But that's really about it for that. So that's simply how easy it is to set up OBS. And over here, like I said on the side, we do have our audio mixers. As you can see, I've been talking, and mine's coming up about -7, -6 dB over here. And I like to keep mine set up this way, that way I can see everything. And scenes and stuff, all good. And they actually have a few options now, so I can actually move my camera and stuff around. And nice. Normally I would have it set up over here, but since I wanted to show you the corner over there where the settings and stuff were, and the start record and all that mess, I kind of moved it for this tutorial. But anyway, that's really about it. This is the settings and stuff that I'm using in OBS. This is pretty much the setup that I'm using for 2026 going forward. So if you're wondering what I actually use to get my settings and stuff, everything sounds so good and looks so good, this is what I use. Now I did mention on my displays and stuff, I do add a little bit of sharpening. By default, if you click on add a sharpening filter, like let me click on background only here and go to filters. Let me add one because it's not one on background. You can go down to what says sharpen, click on that, click sharpen. By default, it's 0.08. I had to reduce that down to 0.04. It's just a minor sharpening. That way, when I take a smaller screen, blow it bigger, sharpen it, then when I bring it over into DaVinci Resolve and kind of like shrink it back down to HD, it actually looks a whole lot better, a whole lot sharper, and looks really nice and clean. So anyway, let me close this out. And that's really it for this tutorial. Okay, everybody. Well, I hope you liked this tutorial, and if you did, how about give me a thumbs up? Thumbs up's always highly appreciated. Now, if you're not a subscriber to my channel, subscribing's free. It's for you. Let you know when I release more videos. Now, like I mentioned at the start of the video, I'm really wanting to hit 50,000 subscribers by the end of 2026. So if you don't mind liking, subscribing, and sharing this video with your friends, it'd mean a lot to me. So anyway, that's it for this video one. Hope to see y'all in the next one.